February 9th, 2023. This is the 2000 tick chart of the S&P 500 E-mini futures tick chart. This is how I saw it today. If you're interested in just all the trades that I took as well as possible trades that I saw, just go down to the description below so you don't have to watch the whole video. Now, today was actually quite challenging for me. It was a test of patience, but I kind of lost my patience sometimes. I'm very sure I overtraded. I took 14 trades. That's right, 14 trades. 6 were losers and 8 were winners. So you could say I actually kind of won, came up ahead just slightly, but all the commissions certainly added up. So this is how the chart looked like today. In the pre-market, it shot up. Then all day, it just kind of did a very gradual sell-off with consolidations all the way down. So it was a little challenging today to find all the trend lines. And I couldn't find one big one to capture the entire move. So I actually came up with like 3 piecemeal trend lines and several of these trading ranges where consolidation was occurring. And you can see all these blue indicators are where I took all my trades, and all the red ones are where I saw trades in addition to the blue ones. Definitely overtraded today. I should have walked away or just not have taken all those trades, but we're going to go through the trades and I'll show you what happened. So the pre-market, which I don't trade, prices were going up. I did draw a trading range from up here to down here, but we'll quickly find out that it wasn't valid because market didn't really stay in that trading range. So as prices were moving, chopping back and forth, it created a sub trading range, which I kind of drew here. And I did see a first entry right here from a new low, first entry short. And then as I was setting up, I saw a potential second entry short. I called it aggressive, so I didn't take the trade. It's also early in the day where in the first 5 minutes of trading, things can be very wild just because there's a lot of trades set up in the pre-market as well as new traders jumping in right when the market opens. So I didn't take this trade. Turns out it would have worked for a scalp, but I wasn't in that trade. At this point, I draw this trend line coming down. This bigger one doesn't exist yet, so just ignore them for now. And so when prices kept moving down, I saw a potential first entry long, a failed second entry long. So I counted this as a new high, first entry long, second entry long. Now I consider this probably a pretty decent high probability trade because at this point I do have this trend line and I drew to the bottom probably a little bit tighter, closer to here. But as it turns out, it doesn't matter that much, so we'll just leave it here for now. Here I would have put my stop entry order right here, and because it bounced and the EMA did hold, turns out it would have worked, but unfortunately I wasn't in that trade. Prices continue down. When I did have this trading channel up here, I eventually moved them down here to try to capture it a little bit better. And it does break through a little bit. Prices continue chopping left and right. EMA is holding, comes up. So at this point, I wasn't sure if there's a bigger trading channel or if this is still in a trading range because it looks like it's re-entering the trading range of this guy. Prices continue upwards, breaks above the EMA. And at this point, I draw this smaller trend channel going up, seeing if this one's going to dominate or is there actual a reversal, and will prices actually move up to the top of this potential trading range that I kind of have established here and down here at this point. So I'm just watching prices move up. So here I see a hidden second entry short, but I don't take it because I wasn't too sure because I consider this as a first entry short because it broke up, broke down, and then it'd be low here and then it continues up. So there's a potential second entry short. There's enough room to the EMA, but I didn't take this trade just because of, I know what happened to me like 2 days ago when I did, and it kind of kept moving up. But in hindsight, I think it might have been a worthwhile trade because it is at the top of the trading range, which is this line here and this line. So it might have been worth a shot because also the entire body of this candle, the entire length of this candle from close and low to the high is all within, just 1-2 points. So it might have been worth a trade. Turns out it would have worked. Lesson learned. I was a little gun shy, but as you'll see later, I kind of over traded. So I think it might have compensated for feeling like I missed a couple of good trades. Prices keep moving down, chops around, goes above the EMA. EMA right now is kind of tapering now. It is kind of still grinding downwards, but it is, for the most part, turning flat. Prices continue moving down. And then I see another potential trading range, which I kind of drew here. I actually had this a little bit lower at one time, and this kind of cutting through the top where my crosshairs are. Prices move up. So I see a potential, because when this was actually lower by about, excuse me, when this top of the trading range was actually lower here, I saw a potential fail breakout occurring, and also a second entry short from this, considering this a new low, because I could have said this is the first entry short, second entry short, count restarts. First entry right here goes up. I see a second entry short and a failed breakout. Unfortunately, I wasn't sure if it was going to bounce off the EMA, but in hindsight, had I had my trend trading range a little bit higher, I could have seen it as a potential, more clear resistance up here, and I'd be selling at the high, which would have been more beneficial. Trade would have worked. But then I did see a lower high. So I saw first entry short, comes up second entry short, and I saw a lower high. I take this entry, and unfortunately, I get stopped out. That was my first trade of the day. It ends up being a red trade. Let's see if I can show you the trade here. It's not showing up. Well, for whatever reason, the trade isn't showing up. And I also see a potential new high, first entry long, second entry long. Now, this is probably a trade that might have been worthwhile taking, but it was getting close to the EMA. So unfortunately, I didn't take that trade. Trades aren't showing up for whatever reason. Prices keep moving up. Prices come down, goes up again. Now it's like chopping within this trading range. It's getting a little confusing, a little hard to tell, but it is confirming this bigger trend channel, which I've kind of drawn now, established, because I had the touches for down here and dragged it up, kind of have the touches up here. The prices continue going down, and I do see a second entry long that's hidden right here. This is my second trade of the day, because I said this is going down one, first entry long, and this is my second entry long. So I actually put an order right here. Unfortunately, I don't know why the trade isn't showing up at the moment. But I have to take my word for it. I had my entry here. I got filled and immediately reversed back right here. I wasn't sure if I was going to get stopped out, and then I do. It dives down and stops me out here. Now, in hindsight, that my second trade, it was two reds in a row now, and I'm kind of taking it in the chin. Two trades in a row, that both of them didn't work out because I didn't really think them through, because I shouldn't have played the second entry hidden, because I should have just waited to see a full confirmation, which you do get right here. There's a second entry long right here. If you consider this going down first entry long and a second entry long, that's where I took my trade number 3. I like this bullish bar. I took the entry right here. I was able to get filled, and it just got filled, and I moved my runner to break even, and it got stopped out. So there was no real runner there. Prices continue moving, goes above. So this is actually a foolish trade. And there was no reason for this trade to occur. As you see in real time, there's no setup. There's no second entry anything. So I took this trade because I think I was watching this and I saw this larger trend channel coming down. And I foolishly thought, well, it's breaking in. Maybe it's going to continue upwards. Maybe this entire thing was a failed breakout of this big channel. So based off of nothing, I took this entry at the highs of this candle, one tick above. And as you're going to see, I get filled, and then it comes down. It's about to stop me out, moves around, and this candle stops me out. So this is a trade of no reason. This trade number 4 wasn't based upon any good rules, any good discipline. So definitely I shouldn't have taken that trade at all. So that was 3 reds now. So it's 1, 2 reds, 1 green, 1 red. And so I should have just walked away at this point, but I kept trading, which is always not the best idea. So to reward my bad behavior on trade number 5, I see a failed second entry short, because I see a new low, first entry short, second entry short. I see the second entry short fail, so I put my trade right up there. Let's see if I could see these. Okay, so it does show my trade finally. I'm not sure why these 4 didn't show up. So it gets me filled. I was able to take it out up here, and then I have a runner, and I was able to get the runner. So this bad behavior of continuing to trade, especially up here, which is risky because this is taking it at the high. Because even though this is a failed second entry short, this is taking the high of the trading range, even though it is also above the EMA. So this is definitely a risky trade to have taken, but I took it. It rewarded me for my bad rule breaking, which I should be careful of because I don't want to continue that trend. So then prices continue moving. It breaks down. So right here, I'm not sure this trend line is valid anymore because this trend channel is being violated a couple times now. So I'm looking around if there's another trend channel available, and you'll see in a little while, I'll come up with another one. So here at this point, I think this one might be it. So I draw this and actually touched here at one time. And I tried to connect it. Actually, it was up here cutting down at first, and then I brought it up higher later when price action evolved and showed a little bit more price action. So I do see a second entry short. So from here, I see a first entry short. I see this forming. I think there could be a second entry short here. Now, this is kind of a risky thing to do because even though there's like second entry short, I feel a little bit better when I see a double bottom here, and it's where the EMA is. However, even though it's right below the EMA closed, it is an aggressive trade because the EMA is cutting through this congestion right now. So it honestly could have gone either way. Fortunately for me, it did actually pick me up, filled my order. It was a green trade, but I need to be more careful of these type of things because I took it at 40.75 and I got filled. Got out and I moved my runner, and my runner got stopped out pretty much immediately. Then prices continued chopping left and right. Continues down. So this is actually my sixth trade. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 trades already. This is way too much trades because certainly there were not that many high probability setups to have taken that many trades. Then I see this potential second entry short. It's a little aggressive because if I count this as a new low, then this could actually be the second entry short, or you can group these together. Say this first entry short and then potential second entry short right where the EMA is. Turns out, if depending on what your price profit target is, it might have worked, but it is congested. And then here it would have worked for sure if you're just going for a very conservative scalp because it hasn't come up here to stop you out yet. But it is chopping sideways. At this point, if I was still in the trade, I'd consider just getting out for break even because it is getting a little sketchy, even though the EMA is holding. Now EMA is not holding, and I draw this trading range. Actually, it's a little bit lower. It's cutting through the tops of these guys, but it is getting a little dicey here. And there is what I call a seventh trade. This is also a no setup trade. This is a foolish trade because I thought I saw something. I thought, okay, well, it's testing the top of this. Maybe it's going to move back into this trading range, which is based upon nothing. And so I took this trade, and lo and behold, it's a red trade because there was no setup, there was no justification to take this trade. So I entered at 41.3750, and then I got stopped out when it came down, which is correct. I should have got stopped out. There was no trade there. So then prices, that's my seventh trade. So we're coming up. Remember, I took 14 trades today, which is way more than I should have. EMA is holding, but prices do keep teasing the EMA by going above and over. So I do see when I have this trend line actually right here, I saw a potential first entry short. Let's see. A hidden first entry short, and then a second entry short, and also a failed breakout. So I was ambitious because I wasn't sure, but I thought since overall trend is bearish, this is a good signal bar because this is what I saw at the time. I put my order right here, 41.37, which is a little hoping that I'm going to get filled a little early, kind of in the middle of this. I do get filled a little early, and I was able to scalp out. So that was a green trade, although it was a little bit, I would say, aggressive simply because you're running into the EMA, even though it is at the top of the trading range. EMA is flattening, but it's starting to curve up. So it's hard to know for sure if that was going to be stopped out or not. And then as you can see, I would have gotten stopped out if I didn't just quickly get my core profit and runner out. And then I see a potential second entry short there, If you take low here, going first entry short, second entry short, it's pretty far from the EMA, might be enough room, but it's hard to know right now. And I remember I have this trend channel here, which at the time I thought was continuing down. So I kind of thought, okay, well, there could be a potential trade there. Excuse me. There was no trade there, but I did see a second entry short, but I didn't take it because I know at that time there was just it was hard for me to really tell what was going on. But then if you looked at this as a new low, there's a first entry short, a second entry short, there's a top of the trading range. This is potentially a missed trade, but I wasn't aware of it at the time. This confirms the second entry short is coming down, cutting through the bottom of this trading range. So turns out if you had taken this trade, it would have been an awesome trade, including with your runner, but I didn't. I wasn't on that trade. Then you also have a second entry long there, which I saw, but I didn't take because you could say it's a first entry long here, second entry long, but the price had been so strong downwards, I was just kind of sitting on my hands. As you can see, it could kind of fail. Then there's a visual second entry long, which I did take because I said there's a first, there's a new high, first entry long. I disregarded this one, and then I said, okay, well, setting up for a second entry long. So when I took this trade, it actually ended up being a red trade because there was no point. It was a break of this trend channel and a new low. So I entered early because when I saw this candle, I said, well, obviously it's going to correct now. And so I took the trade early and then I got stopped out because I took the trade here and then it stops me out immediately on the next move down based upon this big visual. And then in hindsight, what I saw is actually I could have treated this as first entry long, second entry long, count resets because this could be a new high, first entry long, second entry long. This would have been a good trade potentially to enter because there's enough room to the EMA, but that's hindsight's 50-50. Prices continue moving up. At this point, I draw this trading range, kind of connect the highs, and the lows are about roughly here. It touches and moves up. I don't see any good trades. I do see a second entry short now. How did I do this count? Because I saw this as second entry short right here. So let me just zoom in. If I consider this a new low as a first entry short, second entry short. So I entered at 41.1925, which is one tick below this guy. EMA is horizontal. I do have a pretty firm trading range at this point. I enter. I was lucky because I was able to scalp out. And then my runner gets stopped at break even. So this is trade number 9, which actually turns out, excuse me, this is trade number 10, because this one over here was number 9. It turned out to be a green trade. Now I was at the top of the trading range and I thought there was enough room to kind of come down. So I was lucky on that one, but granted, a lot of these trades I took today weren't all high probability. I think I was just shooting from the hip, which is always dangerous. Now I also saw this as a visual second entry, because if you count this as a new low, it'd be first entry short, second entry short setting up here, and a potential fail breakout. And it turns out it is a fail breakout because it would have worked. Because right now, and when this horizontal trading range is occurring and EMA is pretty flat, you don't really have to pay attention to the EMA because it's just kind of riding in the middle, just to pay attention to the highs and lows. So this is a potential trade that I missed out on, but that's okay. And then it sets up the next trade, trade number 11. So I do see a second entry long. It's kind of a visual because even though this is a double top, I considered it a new high. So this actually, it broke down below the open and it came back up. So I said this first entry long, potential second entry long setting up because the bottom of this trading range is right here. So I took this entry right here. Now I took it late, which is very dangerous. This isn't the best trade. It's pretty aggressive. I should have had my order right here. Instead, I had it way up here, 41.22, which is one tick above this guy. But I took it on this one after I saw this one close because I said, this is pretty much just a big rectangle. It opened and then it closed. And all that time it was doing that, it kind of never came back below the open and it closed right at the high. So I was definitely aggressive trade because this is buying at the top of the trading range, which you shouldn't do. And in my case, I was lucky that it worked out. I got my core and then I got my runner, which got stopped out early. And so, as I said, this one was like kind of lucky that dumb luck that I actually survived that kind of trade, because in most cases that would not have worked out well. Prices continue moving down. I see a new high. I see a first entry long, second entry long. So this is my trade number 12. Second entry long. I don't have this trading range drawn yet, but I do have. It's a little bit hard to see, but this is my existing trading range, and I drew this new one when I connected this to here because the bottoms kind of touched and looked pretty well, even though there was a violation. So this trade number 12, I took it right here, 41.15. Again, this is aggressive because this is getting close to the top of the trading range. This is something I should not have done in hindsight, but in real time, I don't think I was thinking quite correctly today, and that's something I definitely need to work on. And so this is like my trade number 12. I took the entry, second entry long. It's aggressive. I was able to scalp out, and my profit, my core got taken out as well as my runner. Prices do what they do is they break out of the trading range and they fail, because most of the time when it breaks out of a trading range, it comes back in. So definitely this is like very risky to have taken. Comes down, it's confirming this trading range now. Prices continue moving left to right, and I see another trade potentially setting up. Let me just get rid of these. Okay, so I see a first entry long here. Why I counted it from here is because I said, well, there's a first entry long, it's a second entry long, and I started the count here again. I said first entry long and a second entry long here. But in hindsight, this is not a clear, concise way of counting, because if I took this as a new high, so if you take this as a new high, this comes down to first entry long, second entry long. Okay, this is valid. It's a new high, first entry long, second entry long. Okay, this is valid. Now, to count this as a new high, it's a little iffy because it's a double top. Because you could also have said this is a first entry long and a second entry long. Then this would potentially be a third entry long. So that is a little bit jarbled and something I should not have done, because as you can see, it's just chopping left and right. And so what I did was I took the entry here at 41.1475, which is pretty much matching this guy. I get filled and immediately it reverses on me. Had I actually been more conscientious, I would have probably avoided this trade because it's coming against the EMA. The EMA is holding. Overall trend of the day is showing that it's bearish. So I have no business trying to take this trade. And then yet I do. So it's kind of today was just not a good day for me to be trading, for sure. And it was just a lot of jarbled. It was a jarbled mess. The market itself didn't help out because it was very confusing. But for sure, I should have been more careful knowing that it was pretty confusing. So anyways, prices continue moving down. I draw this third descending channel now, because at this point, this guy has been violated now. Like it doesn't seem to be in play. So it was only important at this time. And then this guy seemed like it was only important around this time. And so I come up with a third one at this time. And so let's zoom in. This is my 13th trade. This trade number 13 was red. Prices continue moving down. It's respecting the EMA. It's entering yet another trading range. So prices are moving. I see a new low, first entry short, second entry short. At this time, I'm pretty sure everything's just bearish now. To take any longs would be foolish. So all these counter trend trades were all, in hindsight, pretty aggressive, pretty foolish to have taken. Up here, it's a little bit harder to say that because you're not really sure if the whole trend is bearish, but probably up to about this point here, around 7:30, it should have been an indication that things are getting bearish, and I should have been more careful taking longs or taking any attempts for setups to go long. So I see a first entry short, second entry short here, comes down. I'm looking for a failed second entry long or a lower high, and I do see a lower high forming here. I draw this trading range. I see a potential lower high because I like the looks of this candle, and so I get my order ready. I place my order and it gets filled right here at 41.0650, one tick below the bottom of this guy. I get filled. EMA is horizontal, And then my stop is actually a little bit higher. I put it one tick above here at 41.0925. I'm able to survive. I get my core, and now I'm just dragging my runner down gradually, trying to milk as much of this price action as I can. So I did drag it one tick above this guy. Then I waited, and then when this broke down, had it one tick above. And as I kept going down, I said, 9 points is pretty good. So I ended up dragging it all the way down to about here, and finally about right here, and I got stopped out. So my runner got a pretty good fill all the way down here from my entry at 41.06 and a half down to 40.9725, almost a full 10 points. So prices continue moving. And at this point, I'm at least smart enough to know I've overtraded. I shouldn't take any more trades. Let's clean this up a bit. And I just kind of sit out the rest of the day because for sure there was a lot of emotions crept in more than usual, but I did control myself and not break some very important rules because if I go on tilt, well, let me just finish up the charts. You see a second entry short, potentially a good trade there because it is touching the top of the EMA. It would have worked because at this point, the EMA is being respected pretty well. Probably right around at 1040 all the way down, the EMA is holding. And it was holding here and it was getting exceeded a couple times during consolidation, but overall the EMA was a pretty good guideline today. And so prices continue down. It's getting to 1230 kind of areas where I don't want to take a trade because I don't want to have to be stuck because there wouldn't be enough time to try to make up the trade or wait for prices to come back. And then prices just kind of chop around into the close. So definitely overtraded today, but I didn't break the important rules, which were I definitely wanted to enter trades with a stop loss because I know in the past when I have traded on tilt, it causes me to take away or move the stop loss to be excessively large. I give the price action too much room. And if you find yourself giving price action too much room or the price is too much leeway to try to make sure you're right, then you're definitely breaking rules because your risk reward changes at that point. And you're getting into the mode of you think you know what's going to happen and you don't want to be wrong. So it's better to just be wrong than to stay wrong and find out later that you take a huge, huge loss. So I for sure didn't take very good setups because there was way more trading than usual. I did follow the rules. At least I followed some of the rules. I do need to refine my trading to make sure I'm only taking high probability setups instead of just what I thought was high probability. So today was, I wouldn't say it was emotional, but certainly it was very confusing. And that was a recipe for kind of losing 6 out of 14 trades, which is pretty poor because it's a little bit better than 50%, but not a good way to start off. So hopefully that was helpful. It's helpful for me. Again, the description's on the bottom with timestamps, so you don't have to watch the entire video, as I said in the beginning of the video. So hope this helps.